Yeah. So this time of turmoil, it's actually a great opportunity as well.
Oh yes, it is, and they were talking about that in the little stream, and they were saying that the more that people realize it and understand it, and then think, okay, I'm not helpless. I can actually do something about this. And the more that there's peace, and I know it's sad, and I know we keep saying about peace, love, and joy, and happiness, and even if your own tank isn't always full, you're prepared to try and help somebody else. That the more that that happens, and the more that there is this kind of like, not spiritual awakening, or but just um human sort of, and humanality awakening in people, we'll probably come out the other end an awful lot better. So I'm crossing fingers.
Yeah. I so agree. Yeah, with several things that you said.
I'm sure
Uh,
there's a few you don't agree with.
first thing that you said is obviously this is the opportunity, because if give to people uh, pleasure, yeah, and they fall asleep, yeah, if they forget, they start sleeping. It's a nice sleep and it's a beautiful dream. So, you know, if a worm, before it becomes, how I say worm, yeah, who becomes a butterfly? How I say in English?
Oh, the caterpillar.
Caterpillar, sorry.
Yeah.
Caterpillar. If it's, yeah, if it doesn't need to become a butterfly, right? So nothing to worry. He even doesn't know that he's at some point should become a butterfly. But he needs to die, you see. He needs to pass through transformation. And we don't know what kind of internal turmoil it goes through before it becomes a beautiful butterfly. Hmm.
It's true.
Yeah, and people just give them a cozy house and nice TV series, or and they don't bother. It's so good. It's passing through. Okay, time is passing. Nobody is caring, right? But once a challenge is given, turmoil comes. Oh, suddenly you wake up. You're still dreaming, right? But suddenly there is something to, you become more energized, right? You feel that something is happening. You are more awake. You are more aware.
That's the word that I think, I know it's a kind of a cliche, but I think that's the word that's, I'm hearing it from so many different people now, you know, this kind of awakening. And it's not a massive rebellion, or it's not anything violent or anything nasty, but it's just, you know what, this is how I'm going to behave, you know.
Yeah, and
Not
it,
everyone.
yeah, no, not everyone. And people who are not awakening, yeah, they
Mm,
will just not notice. Yeah,
yeah,
they don't see it. But people who are awakening to the truth of the beingness, they see it everywhere.
yeah. There was a lovely British writer called Aldous Huxley, and in one of his books he talks about soma, and it's like a drug for the masses, and it
Hmm.
just keeps everybody, it stops them from thinking, and it stops them from the creativity that we have as well, which I don't know, I mean, I'm sure we've all done Maslow, you know, to
Hmm.
death, but it stops us worry, it stops us really working at our best, you know, if we really go down to that base level where all, and I'm guilty, I sit in front of the TV, God, I'm not saying don't, but you know, if you do, if that's all you do, you know. So yeah, it is, it's I just find it very fascinating that maybe I'm more aware of it now because of the chats that we have,
Hmm.
you know, that
And
I'm
take, for
picking up.
example, I so agree with everything you say. I try to catch up with what you say, right? You said about a writer, yeah? So people who write, for example, poetry or write music, many of them know in what struggles this creation's born. You know?
Yeah.
It's a real birth, you know? It's a real birth when creation is born. And one needs to be fully awake, needs to be, otherwise you cannot be creative. It doesn't mean you need to be in turmoil. It can be very quiet. Yeah, but some of the people, creative people, really can provide evidence on their experience that they go through even inner hurt and inner pain, yeah, until something breaks through and some poetry comes or some music comes. Yeah, and this is why I also said that actually, you know, when meditation is used to rather fall asleep and escape, it's not that. Yeah, it's just another level of illusion, another level of dream. You escape your problem, you escape your challenge. You don't face what you have to face. Yeah. It can start like this because most of the people, when it's actually pain and hurt, which activates in you the search for getting rid of the hurt. But ultimately, at the end, you don't finish like this. You meet the hurt, you meet the pain. You stop running away. You start living. And this is why I also say that self-inquiry is not calmness with a period at the end. Yeah, it's rather calmness with a question mark. Yeah, for example, we say, who am I? Yeah, this is a question. But I say real inquiry is just when question mark remains. Why is it? Why I say so? Because question mark means that you are waiting for answer. But because there is no question, you also don't wait for, you don't expect an answer. But you are in an awakened state. You are present. You are not asleep. Kind of, okay, I'm calm and in peace and I'm asleep. Oh, what a nice dream. No, there is a question, but there is no question. Mentally, there is no question, but your state is a question.
Do you think that's because we're waiting for, not waiting for something to happen, but there's that feeling of anticipation and hopefully good stuff?
It's not the feeling of anticipation, I would say. It's the willingness to be surprised.
Yeah.
The willingness not to know. You see, when we go through awakening, for example, awakening happens. We can say it like this, which is obviously wrong to say, but what can I do with the words? So you don't know where you're going. And if you realized some beautiful state, any experience, any state, however beautiful, will go away. This is the nature of experience. Comes and goes. So you don't really know. Yeah, there are beautiful insights, and you go inwardly, more and more deep. It's happening. But you don't know, and you are willing to be surprised. Whatever the surprise is. Same we say in martial arts, for example, in Tai Chi, you never know how next level of Tai Chi will be felt. So when you try to impose your mind, how I should feel, what is the next level, but you don't know. You cannot know how next level of skill of martial art, of Tai Chi Chuan in my case, can feel.
Mm.
So when you allow yourself not to know, you surrender your mind to the heart. And you stay in the question mark.
Mm.
And then you are willing to be surprised.
Mm.
You don't say, I know. Because when you say, I know, yeah, first of all, you already run after the thought I, which is not who you are. You are not the thought.
Mm.
And when you say no, do you really? And you see the mind, it's an incredible device, but it cannot see what is happening. It cannot see the present. It's when it's notices something, it's already past. So for you to be in the present, you need to surrender the mind to the heart. And this surrender is not the act of doing.
Mm.
No. The words are a bit misleading. We think we need to surrender. But how you do surrender?
No, no, no. I think it's probably something like bravery, you know, because it's a difficult thing. Like spirit is what you feel, but
What?
brave spirit is something that you feel, but brave is what you do. Not action is what you do. Action is just like the name of a verb thing. But I think the bravery or the courage that comes from within,
Yeah,
even the
that's
courage
it.
to fail,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
that's the thing. That's the thing that I'm trying to do more of. But you know, hands up. The thing that completely knocks me backwards is when I get a stone wall or somebody negative. And I wrote you a little question about that.
Should we read it?
If you want to, I mean, I have no problem sharing. You know,
Yeah.
Pam's my buddy. She's the one who directed me and told me to stay with you. So I'm grateful to her.
Let's read your question. In allowing all thoughts and actions of myself and others to just be, how do we stop the hurt caused to us by others? Sometimes there is a reaction within me to this, and it's difficult as the wrongdoing needs to be addressed. So my question for the next meeting is, what happens if I do nothing about the person's hurtful actions? It's a very beautiful question. It's actually many questions here. So let's start from the beginning. In allowing all thoughts and actions of myself and others to just be. So when one allows all thoughts and actions of yourself and others just to be, is it an act of doing or a real surrender?
No, it's still doing, isn't it? Because you're saying you're giving it permission to happen. So for me, yeah, it seems like an action. But what I'm saying is when we behave more like a Gandhi would behave, you know, someone slaps you in the face, give him the other cheek kind of thing.
Mm.
But
So you see, it's very interesting what you raise. If you are not willing to face what is, I'm not talking about the action, how you behave with the other. There is no recipe for this. Every situation will be different, and you cannot direct it with your mind. But if you are not willing to face the hurt, to be open to it completely, to feel it, however painful it is, then you are not free to act freely. Your action is driven by the fear of hurt. Or something else. And this is not a sane reaction, then it is a reaction. You react to something. Yeah? Another thing to recognize here, because when one is hurt, usually it feels like that hurt possesses you. But interestingly, exactly yesterday, I've heard one beautiful satsang with Papaji, and one person said, what do I do with all these emotions? And Papaji said, look, do you see a watch on your arm? Does watch belong to you, or do you belong to the watch? So, do you belong to the feeling, to the emotion, or does emotion belong to you?
I'm going to write that down, sorry. Because
Oh,
I need to
come
ask
on.
myself these questions sometimes.
I'm recording, so I'll send you
Oh,
the
yeah,
recording.
Well, obviously the feeling belongs to me because I'm the one feeling it, yeah? And I'm the one in control of my feelings. Control, not that word. I'm the one who is aware of my feelings.
Exactly.
Yeah. But I think for me, probably peace is brought about by justice. And I think when one person does something bad to another person, there's injustice, you know?
But let's continue with your question.
It's a huge...
It probably will deal with what you started to say now. You say, allowing others and myself to be. You see, in real surrender, there are no others.
You'll have to explain that probably a little bit to me.
When you truly surrender, you can recognize that it's not you who are passing through the life, moving through the life, moving through the experiences, but rather the movie of life moves through you. When you are in deep sleep, no other. When your mind is surrendered to the heart, there are no other. You see how life going through you. Yeah? Even there is no time. Now, I don't want you to believe me. Because it will not be that. And if we continue to speak the non-diluted truth, even more non-diluted from what I now said to you, then we can say that nothing ever happened. Nothing ever happening. Now, if you try to catch it with your mind, it's impossible.
No, I'm
It's
struggling.
impossible.
You're struggling with that.
The mind is always struggling. It's not a surprise when mind is not struggling. This is why one needs spiritual practices to make the mind so tired that it doesn't have any more strength to struggle. So it surrenders. Mind is struggling. Mind is struggling because it cannot capture that. It cannot. But you can perceive it directly. Yes, Pam, please.
I think that struggling is fine, Thelma, but Dimitri is trying to say you go beyond that struggle. So you accept or allow, you become the facilitator for those feelings, and it's natural to retaliate. So if you're hurt, if one is hurt, not just you, me, anybody, that retaliation is instinct often. It's a gut response. And if we allow or enable ourselves to just be with that gut response, whether that's anger, upset, hurt, pain, whatever it is, joy, then we're not active in that. And by looking at the hurt, we can enable ourselves to be in a stronger place. Because then we have the question mark rather than the answer, because often that hurt is looking for an answer. You know, if you've got pain, whether it's physical, mental, emotional, we're looking to see why and what's caused that hurt or pain. Whereas if you're just asking that question mark that we mentioned earlier, you've gone beyond that. That's why it's fine. I struggled a fortnight ago, and I just couldn't get it. But you don't need to get it. It will get you. Because it's the chrysalis, it's the caterpillar in the chrysalis, really. The other thing that I wanted to say, though, is I also wanted to say, thanks for the question, Thelma. One of the things that I often say is you have to live with yourself, and that gut instinct retaliation response, often caused by hurt or pain, is not who we are. So it's what we say and do. And if we look at, if we can look at who am I, which is an early stage of self-inquiry, I know, Dimitri, but if we can question that first and ask who am I in why we respond like we do, I have been finding that actually my self is allowing that response not to be, because that's not me. It is a response or a retaliation or a sort of attack from the hurt, or a defense even. And I think we just have to live with ourselves as well. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. It does. Yeah, I don't. It's a difficult one because this, yeah, the source is what it is basically is I have a sister who is estranged from the family, and we're trying to get her back in, but she's obviously quite toxic in the sense that she will meet only one person at a time and twists everything. So I've been trying to do a more mediative sort of like round table thing with her, but she's brilliant at picking people off, and she knows who to target within the family because she knows the family dynamic. And it's just very, very sad because we're trying desperately to reach out to her and bring her back, but you know, like to the point where I think she's very, very intelligent and she's very clever and clever with words, and she's used things that I didn't even know what they meant originally. I didn't know what gaslighting was. I didn't know the definition of a sociopath, so I had to look it up. But I've been called one.
So Thelma,
Yeah, so it's a difficult thing when I what it is it's coming from a place of trying to help and not trying to enlighten her and do and be able to speak to her on the same level that we can with each other, but at least try to say, you know, let us help. Don't be scared.
are you willing? Yeah.
Yeah.
So are you willing not to leave your home for the sake of anything?
That's a strange question because I can put too many connotations on it. What if my child was hurt and I had to go and help her?
Yeah, mind will put many connotations.
Do you mean like if you're referring to the home as the self and as the inner self? So what
Yeah.
you're saying is, yeah, the more you grow out of yourself, the less there is inner. So you don't.
Even not that, because when you're home, there is no out and in. This is what I say, there is no other. There is no out and in. There is no good or bad. And when hurt appears, it just appears. And it's fine.
Yeah, but I think what Pam was saying, it did resonate with me because she's saying, look, at the end of the day, people will only judge what I do and say. If somebody says whatever I am, if you said, oh, Pam was a sociopath, the people who know me will know I'm not, you know, or I hope not. But, you know, so I think it's just a case of just being passive and accepting. And I think just,
Not necessarily.
you know,
Sometimes,
well,
sometimes
I
you
don't mean
act.
let her hurt me, but I mean allowing her to vent the things that are hurting her, give her a space as well.
So yeah, it's always a challenge. If you know, one says that if you want to see how enlightened you are, go and spend the weekend with your family. But you know,
I love it.
let's say you were hurt and you acted a way that you didn't want to act and you regret it after.
What I do is I do nothing. I shut down.
So you escape from it, you run
Yeah,
away.
I run away.
But this is a strategy, you see. And I recommend to you to surrender all strategies.
Okay.
Not to know even how you will act. Not to know what you will say, not to prepare. No, write down an algorithm like in computer. If she says like that,
then I
then
do.
I will do that.
Yeah.
You are not a computer.
No.
No. And trying to make people feeling better, it's actually escaping your own hurt as well. Yeah, if you're trying to make peace between people and you really struggle and you leaving your home for the sake of this, actually what you say, stop bothering me with your behavior. please behave well so I could feel good. Yeah, it's in a childish way. I'm trying to express
absolutely. It's easier to get to me that way.
Yeah, it's your responsibility that I feel well.
Yeah,
But you take responsibility.
Mm.
It doesn't mean that you enforce on yourself feeling well. No, you take responsibility.
Yeah.
Take responsibility means that you stop running after your mind believe that somebody is hurting you. And you really know, not by the mind, that whatever is happening, it's what should happen. There is no mistakes. There are no mistakes. And all what is happening, it's for you. I would say not for you, but for yourself. Or for you. Yeah, we can say for you. Whatever happening is a gift for your awakening.
Mm.
However it feels. You stop running after the feeling, because if you're running after the feeling or from the feelings, this is a prison. You are not free. So first, let's say on the way to your center, first you recognize your thoughts and you stop touching your thoughts. You stop believing or disbelieving the thoughts. This is first penetration, first level of penetration. You can hear your thoughts and you can recognize that whatever this radio is transmitting has nothing to do with you. It doesn't mean that you don't use your mind. Yeah, you use your mind when you need, and you leave it when you don't. And I yesterday again I saw somebody speaking about the mind. It's like a child. You can come, no problem. It's crying, okay. It's the mind, right? So you're leaving your mind. You don't touch. You understand that you are not your mind. You go deeper. Then emotions, feelings. And this is what Papaji said, is the emotion belongs to you or opposite?
Mm.
And when I say belongs, it doesn't mean controlling, but it's passing through you. And any reaction to the emotion, internal reaction or mental reaction, yeah. But let's say we already know not to listen to the mind and we're already in the emotion. Any reaction, emotional reaction, will be acting which can be predicted. Now, when you are free, you cannot be predicted. No one can predict what you will do, even not the greatest astrologist.
Mm.
Until you are controlled by whatever. You are predicted. It's easy to predict. And there are laws of karma, we say, like in Hinduism, they say karma, right? Which laws of reason and then effect, yeah? Or how I say it?
Cause and effect.
Cause and effect, yeah. But what if you don't react to the feeling and to the emotion? Some people, we did a self-inquiry with one lady, and she was so afraid of a particular feeling, of particular emotion, that when she went into the emotion and at the same time she saw a fear of death, She was preferring to go to the fear of death rather than stay with that emotion. She preferred to jump into death, to escape the emotion. And this, what we know, happens in many, for people who are, for example, committing suicide. Right?
Yeah.
You know. So it's, in this case, you need to face the emotion. When you face the emotion, it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. At the moment of the emotion, it might feel as a big deal. It can overwhelm you. It can take your all space. And if we are speaking truly, this is the reality for you. At that moment, this is the reality. And you need to attend to this reality. Unless you attend to the reality, where are you then?
Yeah.
At what periphery?
Mm.
You are running away.
Mm.
So you attend to reality. And if you need to act from this attendance, you act. If you don't need to act, you don't act. You are free. You are free to do whatever needs to be done at that moment. And you are stop looking for excuses not to attend. For example, I'll give you an example through which is very familiar to me. I went through this. For example, you have a good weekend. Yeah, and imagine yourself now, you already retired, but imagine yourself before retirement. A good weekend, and Monday arrives. And you say, oh, I don't want to go to work, right? And you believe in this. And you resist the moment. But it's already not a weekend, a pleasant weekend with your family or a good TV show, and you felt so well. But it's already not a reality. So the same, when you are not willing to attend to something, yeah, when you are not willing to attend to something, it can be from different perspectives. Sometimes a reality changed and you need to attend to it. And you are still in the past.
Mm.
But sometimes it's completely opposite. Sometimes your reality is your past. And you try to avoid this. You see, when we in spiritual jargon, we say that here and now is just here and now. We should forget the past. But are you avoiding your past? Are you free with your mind, use your mind and put it at any moment of your past? Or some moments maybe you are avoiding.
Mm.
Maybe in childhood you get some situations where you felt really bad and you escaped from it. You fragmented yourself from this. You created a fragment, put in a box. I don't go to this.
Mm.
Now, this fragment is controlling you now. It is here and now and controlling you, but from subconscious. And we all have many of these situations with our parents, because when we come to this reality, right, we are kids. All we know is our parents. And for us, the parents are the source of satisfaction, the source of fulfillment, the refuges where we can take, right?
Mm.
And obviously, we are bound to be disappointed because our parents are just as human as we are. But for us as kids, as innocent children, for us parents, and then teacher in the school. And then we feel tremendous hurt when our expectation is not satisfied. And this hurts, these wounds, we can say, from the childhood, and not just from the childhood. The mind, what tends to do is to fragment, is to put this, what it doesn't want to feel, in a box and put it aside. It says it's already in the past. But it is not. It's forming your reality now. It's affecting you now. Until you are willing to face your past totally. And totally, I mean totally. It's before immigration. Immigration is a huge fragmentation. When you leave your old childhood, for me it was like this, you leave your house, your friends, you start a new life completely. This is a huge fragmentation. For me, for my children as well. When they needed to move from one school to another, with all the challenges. And are you willing not to fragment? Are you willing to see that it's not you who is passing through different stages of life? You see, there is a movie running on the screen, picture after picture. And until these pictures are similar, we don't feel the difference. We are kind of comfortable. And then suddenly there is a jump in the picture. We emigrated. Completely different exposition. I don't know how to say. Completely different. Everything different. Mind immediately creates a fragment. This is already past. And I need to face what is now. And in a sense, it's very useful. It's very useful because we then create a space to meet new reality. So it's very useful. I don't say it's not useful and doesn't have its place. But what mind also creates, it creates a fragment. It says, this is already in the past. Yeah, and now I'm going through new experiences. And this past is already not relevant. Are you willing to recognize that it's not you, the screen, going through the movie, but the whole of life moving through you continuously without any, okay, so exposition changed, new picture arrived. But it is the same you, absolutely same screen. Absolutely, like Pam said, clean slate. When you are willing to see it this way, this is why I said nothing really happening. Because you as consciousness, not moving. I'll give you another example. When you sit in the car, you're not saying I'm moving, right? The car is moving. So when you look through these eyes, hear through these ears, when this body works in nature, are you willing to see that you are not doing anything? That it's all moving through you, that it's all is you, the whole universe. I said once that nobody can really prove that when you are not here, then the others are here. And the universe is here. The stars, the sun, the moon. Who can prove this? But we take the basic things we take for granted. We take our feelings and experiences for granted. Right? We believe what our mind says, and then we believe, when we go deeper, we still believe what our feelings say, what our feelings cause us to feel. In this, and obviously, yeah, especially when we have this experience, essential experience of meeting the peace. But it's still an experience. Are you willing to lose all experiences? And at the same time, are you willing to face any experience? Are you willing to face your past unconditionally? All the hurts of the past, to become whole, not to divide yourself to fragments, because mind will do this. This is what mind is very good at. Are you willing to be whole, complete, not driven by feelings? Allow feelings to be, to move through you. When you don't resist a feeling, it's not a big deal. You just are. And this is a surrender. And this surrender deepens and deepens. And you never know what will be the deeper stage. You never know. And it's fine not to know, otherwise you will try to direct it. So
I totally agree with you in the trying to direct it thing, because it's very altruistic to think that we're trying to regain the family unit. And part of that, if you recall, is because of the loss of my younger brother. So we lost our baby. And so there are only so many of us left. And it was just this kind of thing to say, you know, this is more precious to me now, and I need to take care of it, you know?
But look what magic happens here. Let's speak about magic a bit. So it will be a bit positive to give you some hope. When you are willing to feel your heart, when you are willing to be heard, not to look for hurt, I'm not meaning that, yeah? But when you are willing to be with whatever arises, that means you are feeling, you're also willing to be one with what you call another. You are willing, you are stopping to say, this is my hurt and this is your hurt. Because this is a source of war. Yeah, we know that for the sake of not being hurt, all wars were started. And this is a war between us and somebody other, our relative, our family, our parents, our children. Yeah, it's a fight.
Yeah.
Continuous fight. But when you are willing to face whatever, when you are one, in this oneness, when there is no other, great magic can happen. When you stop drawing the boundary between yourself and somebody else,
Mhm.
when you see yourself in the other. It doesn't mean that you act in a particular way, but you can act in different ways. You are free. But you're willing to be one. You know, it's like the greatest moments of intimacy in your life when you forget your own self. This is meeting the beloved. This is meeting the God. So when you meet the so-called another, what do you see? Do you see name and form? Or do you see that which is nameless and formless? Looking through other eyes, looking, hearing through other ears. Are you willing to see yourself and not your projections? When we judge another, it's just our projections of our mind. And obviously, we cannot know other until we know ourselves. Are you willing to recognize yourself as nameless and formless? And at the same time, as a limited human. There is no conflict here. You see, this nameless and formless I lives through everything. Through caterpillars, butterflies, birds, through wind, through the whisper of the stars.